Yo, it's horse beef, or should I say goat beef, back once again. Because I wanted to cover this. There's been developments in the excuse making on behalf of Magomed Ankalaev. I guess what Ali Abdelaziz was alluding to in his long, drawn-out, redundant, stupid, silly, moronical, whatever statement that he put out, right, to defend Magomed Ankalaev and allude to him having an injury. Now there's been quote-unquote confirmation because there's a video of Magomed Ankalaev having his rib cage looked at. What? That must confirm everything to be factual.
Это, конечно, очень приятный укол. Бывало и похуже.
Your opinion might not take, no? Well, people know around the fighter, relentless pace, pressure. It's not just limited to the option. Wow, you're crazy. I read up one and I found out that when you were you were drowned in a river. You were drowned in a river at 6 years old.
Can you ask him like where it spreads, if it spreads like this way or up and down?
This sideways.
So here, this way, and this way, or it's like up? Like, is it more this way?
This.
Okay. Which one hurts more? 1 or 2?
Yes.
1 or 2?
Yes.
So I have a few gripes with this video. First of all, the non-marital contact between Magomed Ankalaev shirtless with this woman. Dude, that right there has offended me, and I will not stand for it, first of all. So let's just get that out of the way. Magomed Ankalaev, you should not be letting this woman touch you. Are you fucking insane? I was under the impression that this would be prohibited, but I find this to be interesting that it's being considered as like proof, quote unquote, as to a severe injury because he's having his ribs looked at and he's describing where he has pain. If he truly had broken ribs, like if anybody out here who's watching this video has had broken ribs personally, you understand that there's no possible way that Magomed would have even been able to step in the cage. There's no way. There's really no way whatsoever. You can barely even get out of bed, right? And look at how easily he got up off the floor after he was KO'd, right, and emoted on. I'm not too sure, especially after eating a couple 12 to 6 elbows to that same spot, right, coincidentally, that was marked in the video. He's getting up like that, willy-nilly, and walking away? No. If he had broken ribs, those 12 to 6s would have rendered him fucking incapacitated, and there's no other way about it. You cannot tell me otherwise. No. I don't buy it personally. And I would also like to bring some attention to this past tweet from Magomed Big Ank Ankalaev. Joe Rogan mentioned his team said that Alex fought with a broken hand and norovirus. When fighters step in the cage, nobody is 100%. Wow. He's right. He's right about that, man. Fighter's life is tough. You pick up injuries, niggling injuries here and there. He's totally correct. So surely. Of course, we know this is probably Ali Abdelaziz, and Ankalaev approved it. And seeing as Ali Abdelaziz is the one making the excuses on behalf of Ankalaev, the hypocrisy on the part of Ali Abdelaziz is quite palpable. Now, do your best to ignore Ankalaev's seductive look right there, please. Just pay attention to the rib cage and then watch the slowed down footage. It looks to me as if Pereira delivered those 2 elbows to the same spot that's marked on his body, if not a very, very similar spot, right? Which does beg the question of if this was before the fight or if this is just an after fight examination, right? Because what a wild coincidence. And like I said, guys, if you've had rib injuries, which I have personally, you know there is no way that this dude would be stepping in the cage. Like maybe he had bruised ribs, but even bruised ribs would be a tall order, right? That would still be a tough ask to step in a fucking cage and fight for a title. But the claims that his ribs were broken going into the fight, and that is just inconceivable. Unless Magomed Ankalaev is just the toughest person in the world, ate those clean 12 to 6 elbows from Alex Pereira of all people to pre-existing broken ribs. and didn't even really seem to acknowledge it much, right? No, he would be in agony laying on the fucking canvas, and it would have been very clear that he had broken ribs, right? Could have even punctured a lung from those fucking 12 to 6s, dude. And people who are buying this nonsense have clearly never experienced a broken rib or any sort of rib injury. I mean, for fuck's sake, man, breathing is a lofty task when you have a broken rib. And the claim is that this took place 20 days before the fight. Now, if you look at the hair, right, the hair in this video, like the rib video, right, the examination video that's been put out, his hair does look a little bit longer than it did on fight night, right? So I could be wrong there. I could be wrong in saying that it took place after the fight, but it does seem like a wild coincidence. Maybe his hair is just more shaggy in the examination video. I'm not sure. I'm not saying for sure that it happened after the fight, but like I keep saying, it's a wild coincidence at the very least that he would have had an injury, a pre-existing injury in that exact spot. Despite how illogical this all is, right? It's completely illogical. People are only buying it because they want to buy it. That's really all there is to it. As I said, if you've experienced rib problems before, yeah, you don't buy this right off the bat. You really don't. But yeah, the people who are believing this shit or pushing this shit as a way to take away from Alex's win, I mean, it's to be expected, of course. It happens after every single high-profile fight like this where there are two big fan bases, right, like very, very passionate fan bases. This shit always happens, but it's very clear that people are just choosing to believe it despite how nonsensical it all is. It really doesn't make any sense. And even if I'm giving Ankalaev the benefit of the doubt here, and saying that, yeah, sure, maybe he had a rib injury, he had a broken rib, yes, he was able to step into the cage, breathe, train, everything, yeah, man, totally, it makes a lot of sense, right? How would that have affected the fight? I mean, obviously, right, if he had a broken rib, you'd be thinking that he's in pain constantly, right, moving around the cage like that, you know what I mean, fucking breathing, anything would have been causing him pain, right? But let's just give him the benefit of the doubt. The only time those ribs were targeted was in that ground and pound sequence where he delivered 2 elbows to the ribs, right? He landed 2 elbows to the ribs. Otherwise, it was like 3 or 4 calf kicks, beats up that front leg, you switch into orthodox, you get cranked with the right hand, you shoot for a takedown, which would also be, quite a lofty task if you have a fucking broken rib. Shooting for a takedown, ooh, oh man, sure would be painful. And he was remarkably still while receiving those elbows to the body as well, which I've already said, but it's just so crazy that people are really buying into the story that Ali Abdelaziz of all people is pushing, right? Because as we know, Ali Abdelaziz has a great track record of being an honest and just decent person. He's just so decent. So I can understand why you take everything that Ali Abdelaziz would say at face value, but there's no proof, like there's no date to the video, there's nothing. It's just a video of Magomed having his ribs looked at just after receiving those nasty clean elbows to the ribs from Alex Pereira in the same spot. And we're supposed to believe that this took place 20 days before the fight. We're supposed to believe that. Ali, you could have chosen a different body part. You could have chosen a different part of the body, man. You could have chosen anything. You really could have, man. At least Umar had a decent excuse, right? He said he broke his hand. That's okay, right? Broken hands happening all the time in the UFC. So saying you have a broken hand, it's easy, throwaway excuse. I broke my hand. Oh, okay, Umar, maybe next time then. Of course, it's still lame as shit. But this? Broken ribs 20 days before the fight? In the same spot that he was fucking pounded? What? Ali? I mean, obviously, I was going to say, do you think we're retarded? Well, the answer is correct. He does think we're fucking retarded, obviously, if he's putting nonsense like this out there. But come on, Ali Abdelaziz. I didn't even think that you were this stupid. I assume that you'd have more going on up there with your brain literally protruding through your fucking skull, man, by the looks of it. I assume that you had more brains than this. But he just continues doing no favors for Ankalaev in the court of public opinion, man. He just keeps tearing down Ankalaev. He's dragging Ankalaev through the mud behind him, because I refuse to believe that Ankalaev is really that much of a brash person, that much of a disrespectful person deep down. He doesn't seem like that guy. He just doesn't. He honestly does not, or at least he didn't until Ali started posting that shit. And now after the fact, you're doing the worst possible thing. This is not helpful to Ankalaev. Bringing up excuses for him is not helpful to him. It's not going to get him another fight with Alex Pereira. Nobody gives a shit to see it, right? It's settled now. The UFC didn't want Ankalaev as champion. This is doing no favors for your boy. But it's all damage control from Ali Abdelaziz, because he knows that all of his trash talk led to this moment, and that's a personal loss for him, right? He was the one talking shit behind the scenes. He pretty much confirmed it at this point. All of those words, or all that venom he was spitting on Twitter, Were his words. So this, I believe, is almost as much of a loss for him as it is for Lil Ank. And now we're seeing how Ali Abdelaziz takes losses. I mean, we've seen in the past, right? He's always been a notorious excuse maker for his fighters. But in this case, it does seem to be more of a personal thing for Ali Abdelaziz. But keep bringing it, Ali, man. You'll just give me more content, right? I'm very grateful for the content that you do bring me with your retardation. It's very much appreciated. But I have to say, right, to close out the video, I want to say that I'm not suggesting that there's a 0% chance that Ankalaev went in there with an injury. What I'm suggesting is that I don't give a shit and it's not important, right? Alex's team came out and made excuses for him after the fact, and it turns out that he was potentially vindicated with this fight, right? It could have been true. He apparently had a norovirus and an injury going into it, right? Norovirus does make you quite weak and lethargic, so of course that would affect your performance, and Alex Pereira did look noticeably different, right? So let's say he was at 40% like was suggested. Well, if Ankalaev was at 40% here, what's the difference, right? Alex Pereira at 40% went in there and brought Ank to a decision, actually a very closely fought decision upon multiple rewatches. Okay? But Pereira no-diffed him in 80 seconds. Ank, I don't even think landed a strike. Gave him no problems. So sure, right? If you want to make this excuse and say that Ankalaev was injured, sure, that's fine. That's okay. Go for it. Doesn't matter. When Pereira wasn't at his best, he took Ankalaev all 5 rounds. And as I said, when Ank wasn't at his best, allegedly, he got walked through. But I'm not even buying the story that he wasn't at his best. What I am suggesting is that Alex was at his best this time, and that was too much for Ankalaev. That's what I believe. I don't believe that there was a pre-existing injury. It's all too coincidental, but at the end of the day, it does not even matter. It doesn't matter. It's just pathetic that this many excuses, and it's so predictable as well. You always expect the I had an injury excuse after the fact, right? You always expect it from these fighters, especially the ones managed by Ali Abdelaziz. And it is pathetic, man, but it's fun to laugh at, man. I hope you guys had a fun time laughing at it with me. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about this story, what you think about the fight, your thoughts surrounding whatever the fuck you want to say. I don't care, man. Whatever your thoughts are in life, let me know in the comment section below. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you on the next one.